Hi, Shannon. It's good to see you again. Um, Today, I thought we could spend some time doing a thought record in our session. So, as we discussed kind of previously, a thought record is a tool from CBT that's helpful for a variety of reasons. It helps us take a difficult situation or pattern and kind of break down the associated thoughts and emotions to come up with more helpful ways of thinking. It also helps us come up with some behaviors that we can engage in to manage the situation and the emotions more effectively. And it
Mhm.
also can be helpful in reducing the intensity of emotions in a difficult situation or event. So I think it could be useful for you.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like it.
So I'm just going to share this. So this is a sample of what it looks like in practice.
Okay.
So we have the situation, which is the who, what, where, when, and why. The emotions, which are the emotions that result from the situation. And we look at these emotions kind of both before and after. We do the thought record to make sure that they're reducing in intensity. Then we have our automatic thoughts, which is all the thoughts associated with the situation and the emotions. The reframe, which is where we come up with more helpful ways of thinking, and the helpful action, which helps reinforce the more helpful way of thinking and give us ideas for how we manage the situations and emotions more effectively. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, do you have an example from the last week we might use?
Yeah, I do. It was kind of that situation I talked to you about or mentioned to you, just with me starting my new job. And I always feel sort of anxious meeting new people, and I want to get to know my coworkers. And I had this situation where most of my coworkers were in the staff room together, and I was thinking that would be a great way for me to get to meet everybody, or at least like talk with some of them. And so I went towards the door of the staff room and I was going to go in and talk to them. And then I just couldn't get myself to do it. I just kind of felt like I was frozen outside the door, really feeling anxious. And so then I didn't go in. I just walked away.
Okay. This is a really great example. So, what were the emotions, even as you think about it right now? What emotions come up as you think about that event or
Oh, definitely anxiety.
And when we do emotions, we want to rate them out of 10. So, how anxious did you feel?
Probably like an 8.
Any other emotions?
Well, sort of right after, I felt really frustrated because I walked away. I didn't talk to them. I didn't do what I wanted to do. So I was pretty frustrated with myself.
Yeah. And how frustrated did you feel? How intense was that?
Pretty frustrated. Maybe a 7.
Okay. And any other emotions?
Yeah, a bit like kind of like sadness, like kind of thinking about if I like, what if I never get to know them?
How sad did you feel?
Hmm, Maybe like a 4.
4 out of 10.
Yeah.
So, the automatic thoughts are all the thoughts we have related to the situation and the emotion. So, you mentioned one already, which is what if I never get to know them? Uh,
Hmm.
and when we have a question in our automatic thoughts, we want to try to answer it because there is often an underlying thought there that guides that question. So, um, as you ask yourself that question, what if I never get to know them? What's the thought that's underneath that?
If I never get to know them, I mean, I guess could be kind of lonely. Like I'm going to be isolated. I won't know the people that I work with. I'll be alone.
So, lots of thoughts underneath that. And what we can do with these thoughts is something called the downward arrow. So the downward arrow kind of takes thoughts and basically we ask ourselves, if this were true, what would that mean and why would that be upsetting? And we do that because that helps us get to those core beliefs that we talked about. Okay. So if we use, I won't know the people I work with, if that were true, what would that mean to you and why would that be upsetting?
If I don't get to know them, like it just, well, either it might mean like, I guess, like people don't like me, or that's something I think about. That's probably the reason why I don't go in and talk to them. I'm worried about that.
Yeah.
So it could be that. It might mean like people don't like me, or it just might mean like I can't do this. I can't get to know people.
And if that were true, I can't get to know people, what would that mean to you and why would that be upsetting to you?
Well, I guess in a way, like it just feels like, kind of maybe like socially, like I would kind of feel like a failure.
There's a core belief, hey?
Mhm. Yeah, and that bothers me. I don't want to feel like a failure.
Of course. That makes sense. Yeah. We always know we've hit a core belief because it kind of feels like hitting a nerve at the dentist, right? It's like, ooh, I don't like feeling this way about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts related to the emotions or the situation?
Well, maybe just with the frustration, like I always do this, or why do I always do this?
I always do this. Yeah. Great examples. Okay. So you get a sense of how that works. So the reframe is where we think about kind of more helpful ways of thinking about the situation and the thoughts that have come up. So it's not just about slapping on the rose-colored glasses and saying the opposite. We want our reframe to be helpful and realistic, right? So if we use some of these examples, I won't know the people I work with. What would be a more realistic or helpful way of looking at that thought?
Well, other places I worked, eventually I did get to know the people I work with. So I know that that's happened in the past.
Great example. How about people don't like me?
Well, I do have people that like me. I mean, I have friends outside of work. I actually have friends from my old job.
I like what you
Family.
did there. Sometimes it's helpful to add some evidence to these thoughts, right? So here's a list of people that do actually really like me.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
How about I can't do this?
Well, I guess when I read the other things that are there, I have done it because I have gotten to know the people I worked with in the past.
Right.
And I probably felt that way last time too, in the beginning.
Good point. How about I am a failure? Let's make sure we look at that one.
Well, if I think about that sort of socially, the way I was thinking, I do things with people. I do have friends. Like I do have a social life. So it's not that I'm alone or don't have any friends.
Right. So there's lots of evidence here about things that you haven't actually failed at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great examples. Okay. So let's think about some helpful actions. So again, the helpful actions help reinforce kind of the more helpful ways of thinking, but they also help us manage the emotions and the situation as well. What might we do?
Um, Well, some things that have helped me manage the anxiety is that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise you taught me and the breathing exercises. Those help bring my anxiety down.
Great points. Yeah. You're pretty good at practicing those.
Mhm. Yeah, those have been helpful. I guess kind of thinking back, the other things I need to do is just go ahead and talk to people even when I do feel anxious, because that's how I did it before.
Yeah, kind of that face your fears maxim, right?
Yeah.
I find it helpful sometimes for people, in these situations to do a bit of a behavioral experiment, right? So, like maybe I set a small goal to myself that I'm going to say hello to 3 of my coworkers, right? And just see how that
Mhm.
or something tangible that we can kind of keep track of and measure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I could do that. Actually, just when you say that, I think if I wasn't going into a situation there where there was a group of people, I might not be so anxious. So maybe I could just say hello to, to people sort of one on one.
Great point, right? This is where we want to pay attention to those nuances, right? Some things will be a little bit easier to practice than others, and those might be helpful places to start. You're doing a great job with this. So you get a sense of how this works, right? So I'm going to give you a copy of this both this example and also some blank copies for you to take home. And what I would ask you to do is just practice doing thought records on your own whenever there's a difficult situation or any kind of intense emotion that comes up, and then bring them with you to our next session so we can talk about them together. But let's quickly go back to these emotions because it's important to revisit those. So, as you
Okay.
think about this situation right now, how anxious are you feeling?
Well, I think quite a bit less because I realize I have done this before. So, like maybe more like a 5.
Right? How about that frustration?
Same thing. It's less again because I realize like I don't always do this. I've been able to make friends. So maybe more like maybe a 4.
And how about the sadness?
I really don't feel sad about it now. Just kind of thinking about the fact that I'm not going to be lonely or alone. I'm not. So I would say a 0 probably.
Okay, good work. So you get a sense of how this can be helpful and how this can change.
Mhm.
Okay. Do you think you could do one of these on your own?
Yeah, I think it would be really helpful to write things down like that. It does help me kind of sort through my thoughts.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll leave this with you to practice and then we will revisit this next time we get together.
Okay. Thanks, Jen.